Alright, so I promised you some more interesting videos after the last one was a lot of talking. Today we are cracking on with the exhaust manifold. As you can see, I've already made one runner. This took me days to plan out where everything's going to go, because obviously you can't really just do one runner at a time. You need to figure out where the other ones are going to go around it and stuff. So even though I've only made one of them, I know pretty much where the other two are going to go as well. I made this sketchy little mounting setup to keep the collector in the exact right place, because this is like where we're very tight for space. Like the steering rack is like here. Obviously you've got the bell housing and everything there, and the gearbox is going to be all on there, so it's very important that that stays in the exact right place, and then the runners are sort of made to fit that. One thing I've done since the last video as well is replace the engine mounts with some stiffer ones from Hard Race, and also took off the heat shield, but then it was still, like the intake pipe that sits here was still going to be touching the exhaust manifold pretty much, even with the heat shield gone. So what I ended up doing is ripping out all the power steering lines. I'll show you up here. I don't know if you can really see, but yeah, the power steering lines were there. As you can see, one of the bolts snapped off, so that was nice. They were there and they were getting right in the way, so what I'm going to do is take them all out, remake them and route them a completely different way. So then we've got all this space here, which if I show you down here, that kind of equates to like this area here. So now we can have the intake pipe a lot lower, like all the way down here, instead of being up there like it was originally, which means the exhaust manifold should be quite far away from it now, so that makes things a little bit easier. But yeah, let's carry on making these two runners, see how it goes. Alright, so as you saw, we got pretty much all of it done. There's one little bit that I haven't welded yet, but I thought I'll just put the engine back in the car with the exhaust manifold on to make sure everything fits, because obviously that is the main issue that I've been worried about, is space and making things fit. I'm glad I did come to test it. That's the little bit that I haven't done yet, because it turns out this is not really oriented in the right way. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's kind of pointing off that way, whereas it should be pointing straight back, which doesn't sound like a big deal, and like I could use some bends to sort of bring it round here, but because like the turbo, turbine inlet is going to be about here, so I don't know if you can see, that's kind of pointing in the wrong direction.
12 seconds later.
There we go, that's looking a bit better. I've just broken all the welds off, which took ages by the way, even though they were only like tiny little tack welds. They were strong as fuck. So yeah, snapped them all off, remade that runner, the end of it, which is holding it in place. I've not done the other two yet because I didn't want to make the same mistake again, but you probably can't tell, but it's pointing in the right direction now. It just kind of points straight back rather than off that way. So that's an improvement. Now I've just got to make a little pie cut to go in that gap there, and then that top run is going to be a bit more awkward because it's quite a different angle to the actual part of the collector, but we'll make it work somehow. Alright, so I've just finished tacking those last few bits in place. I mean, that makes it sound like it was really quick and easy, but it took me so long to make the right size bits of metal to go in the gaps. I don't know why it takes me so long to do stuff like that. It seems like it should be easy, but for whatever reason, I seem to suck at it. But anyway, it's all tacked in place. Now what we've got to do, unfortunately, is break it apart so that we can actually weld up every single individual bit, because obviously you're not going to be able to get to some of these bits. Like it's quite tight. Like I'm quite happy with how sort of tight I've managed to make it to stuff. So yeah, it's pretty tight. You're not going to be able to get a welding torch in there and filler rod and all that. So we have to do each runner individually, which means snapping them off from the main flange and the collector, and then hopefully they don't warp too much and everything goes back in the right place and everything lines up still. I'll be amazed if it does, but yeah, I'm pretty happy for my first exhaust manifold ever. I'm quite happy that it at least even like fits at all. But yeah, let's see how well the next bit goes, which like I say is breaking it apart and welding it up fully. Alright, so we've got each runner welded up individually. The welding went pretty badly, I'll be honest. Like, the welds are really ugly and messy. It was a lot harder than I expected for some reason. But yeah, we've got them all welded up, but we've got a bit of an issue in that when I went to put them all back together, they don't fit, which is not that surprising. Like, I knew stuff warped when you weld it, and also I did expect it, because when I put the final bits in, like the final sort of pie cuts that we're going to join everything together, I did have to stress it a bit to kind of make them fit. So when I came to cut the welds off, you could sort of see it all pop back into its original place. So yeah, I'm not that surprised, but it's still a bit frustrating because I've basically had to start, well, not start again, but just like remake the end again here. Like, you can see what a mess that one's becoming now. But yeah, like that's, I've just had to basically rotate this collector slightly and then put a new piece in there to make these two work. But now that I've done that, this one, the third one, doesn't fit at all. Like, if you put that roughly in place, so it's around there, yeah, you've got a massive offset here. So I'm gonna have to, I think, probably just chop this one halfway and then sort of remake the rest of it. But yeah, a couple of other things that you might not consider when you're making an exhaust manifold like this, that I thought I'd just point out, is leaving access to the bolts. You can see how tight that is. That's like resting on one of the runners and it just fits. So yeah, stuff like that is interesting. Like, I had to kind of take that into account when I was designing all this. Just again, because I know people are going to be like, oh, why didn't you do a more direct route and stuff like that? But those kind of things you've got to take into account. And another thing that's been a bit of an issue to kind of get my head around is what order to do everything in so that I've actually got room to weld the final bits on. Because if you think about it, at some point you're going to be putting a third runner on when the other two are all completely solidly in place. And then, like, how do you know, if it was this one that's last, how do you weld round there when that's in the way? And like around the collector bits, everything's going to be in the way. So I think I've figured out the best order to do it in. I guess time will tell whether or not it actually works. Alright, so as you can see, I've already welded one of the runners on completely, which is this first one. I'm just finishing off the second one now. I've welded it all around there. And now we've got to put this last piece in, which I've just finished making up. It goes something like that. It's a little bit tight. I've spent quite a while filing it down, but it's still a little bit tight. But you can see it sits in there like that. And I'm just going to weld that in place now. Right, first things first, we've got to give it a good clean. I've just completely sanded this bit down, so that's clean. But these bits we could do with scrubbing. Then we're also going to wipe it down with some of this lovely stuff, acetone, which is basically like paint stripper. It just helps to clean off any extra nasty shit. I just want to point out as well, this is not meant to be like a tutorial in any way, because I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I just thought I would kind of walk you through what I'm doing for once, rather than just having a quick sort of montage with music over the top. We'll actually explain all the bad techniques that I'm using. Right, so just going to put a few taps on first, just to make sure it all stays in place. So, as usual, I'm just going to do the easiest bits first, and then worry about how on earth I'm going to get around the back of there, do that bit. One thing I'm not very good at is kind of curving the torch around as a weld, which you need to do on pipe. Like, welding flat stuff, I'm not bad at all at welding flat stuff, but pipe, really awkward. You have to like keep restarting all the time, like moving it around, which is why all the welds end up looking like shit. So I keep restarting and then they kind of don't merge together very well. And, excuses. Let's have a go. They always start out fairly tidy looking, and by the end of it, they look like ass. Like, you see the first bit I've done there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but first bits there look okay, but then guaranteed by the end of it, it'll look absolute dog shit like the rest of them. But here's what it is. As long as it holds together, I don't really care how it looks. Really short one. That's what she said. How the fuck are we going to do this? I thought there was only going to be like a little section that would be really difficult, like under here. But it kind of turns out this whole bit is going to be a nightmare. So that's fun. some kind of sketchy setup going on through here, I think. Let's try that. God. See what happens. Whoa, steady. Oh yeah. Easy. Maybe not easy. What do you mean? How? Can you see now why I normally just do a montage with music over the top? Because this is pretty tedious, isn't it? Right, we've now got two tiny bits. Fucking chill out, mate. We've now got two tiny bits back here that I can't really reach because this thing's right in the way. So we're going to have to just do some dodgy welding and just hope that it kind of works, I think. Oh, we could do that one from there. It's going to be terrible, but we could. And I don't really know how we're going to do that either. Could try the same technique, I think. Just wing it uphill with a weird angle. Nope. So I think I'm just going to try and wash it up on this side. Oh, this is so bad. I'd be amazed if this thing holds together. Stay still. Even. Shut up. Done. I think that'll do. It's fucking horrendous, but I think it'll do. Let it cool down for a bit, and then we'll see where we stand. See if the last one actually fits now that the other two are in place. Alright, let's see if this one fits then. A moment of truth. Just about. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. But I think it's salvageable. I don't think I need to remake it or cut any of the ends off or anything. So I'm really not too thrilled about how this fits together now. But like I say, after we've got this far, I really can't bother to just remake any more bits. Okay, the camera battery died while I was filming the last few bits of the welding, so you didn't get to see those last triumphant moments, but yeah, I'm sure you saw plenty of welding. You probably don't need to see any more. But yeah, got the engine back in the car, got the gearbox back on it, which was a bit of a pain in the ass, and obviously got the exhaust manifold on, and as you can see, it's a bit of a tight fit, a little bit tighter than I intended, but we can work with it. We can work with it, it'll be okay. But yeah, what I've got to do now is decide exactly where the turbo is going, because I'm going to make the part that goes from here to the turbo. So this is going to determine exactly where the turbo sits. And you can see I've started cutting some bits out that were in the way. I'll tidy all that up. But yeah, it's going to take quite a bit of planning because I need to figure out all the inlet piping, like see exactly what sort of angles I can make and how it's going to route through there and everything. So it's going to take a while. I think we'll end this video here and we'll do like a part 2 of the exhaust manifold, which will be doing that stuff and the external wastegate and making the other side because we've not even started on that yet. Obviously I'll kind of skip through it a bit faster than we did this one when we're doing the other one, but yeah, we'll do a part 2 because this video's got pretty long already. And then once that's done, we will be moving on to the intercooler piping. So yeah, a couple of interesting videos, and these are kind of the longest, hardest bits. So once these two things are done, the exhaust manifold and the intake piping, well, at least the intercooler piping, and making the intercooler. Oh, I'll show you actually, the intercooler turned up. So yeah, we've got this intercooler core from PWR. Obviously, I've got to weld end tanks onto it. It's going to be a vertical intercooler as well, so you can probably tell from the orientation, the end tanks are going to be on the bottom and the top, rather than on the sides like most intercoolers. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. A couple of reasons for doing that, but we'll go into that in the video where we weld all that up and everything. So yeah, this is going to be definitely the next hardest thing after the manifolds, is making the end tanks, making all the intercooler piping, making sure everything fits, and yeah, mounting it somewhere as well, figuring out exactly where it's going to go. So yeah, that will be coming up in a future video. So the next one will be exhaust manifold part 2, so I'll see you there.